Hello, I'm Keith Hilson with the Schmidt Music Trombone Shop, back with another daily practice tip for you. And today I'm actually this is going to be the start of a three-part series talking about warming up. Now, specifically, this is not going to be about talking about warming up in terms of specific exercises. I've actually done some previous videos talking about some of my warm-up routines and different ideas I think about with that. But this is actually more focused on warming up and keeping ourselves engaged, interested. I've had a number of messages from players all over the world saying, "Hey, can you talk about how do I keep myself interested in warming up?" Because if we're not careful, the process of warming up can be a slog. Frankly, it's kind of an intimidating thing if we think about it. And again, there are different philosophies about this. Some people feel that you don't have to warm up, that you can just go in and get into playing, and for those folks, if that works for you, fantastic. But for a lot of us, me included, I have to have some time to warm up, to get my air moving, to get my embouchure warmed up, to get the lips moving properly, and frankly, to get myself in the proper headspace, thinking in the right way. And so this warm-up routine is a part of a lot of our lives. But as these folks who have messaged me have said, it can be a kind of a grind. And so how do we take this potentially repetitious exercise, something we have to do day in, day out, and how do we make it so that we can stay engaged, that stays interesting, that it doesn't become just a millstone around our neck, just dragging us down, something we dread doing? Well, there's a number of different concepts that I think about that I've kind of learned over the years that have really helped me with this. And the first one I'm going to talk about today is thinking of warming up as being musical. I think for a lot of us, when we think about warming up, we think about just a series of exercises. Okay, great, I've got to play my long tones. Great, blah, I play my long tones. Okay, now I need to start expanding my ranges, so I play lip slurs, or I start doing scales, whatever. Okay, great, I did all that. Great, okay, now I have to work on my articulation. I'll do that. And they just feel like just exercises. I just have to do it and get them out of the way so that I can get into the music. But what I would say, and I am far from the first to say this, is that warming up, as soon as we pick up the instrument, everything we do, we should be thinking musically. I think most famously for us in the brass world, Arnold Jacobs was known for talking about this. So every time we play, no matter what we're playing, we're trying to think musically. But of course, there have been so many others as well. This is a concept that has really, really helped me. Because what that means is from the very first note I play, even before I play the note, as I'm stretching, as I'm working on my breathing, I'm already thinking musically. And for me, what that means is, first off, it's a lot more interesting because I'm thinking of it in a musical concept. And secondly, it's a lot more meaningful to me. Because again, they're not just exercises. I am immediately, as soon as I start playing, these are opportunities for me to express myself as a musician, to feed that part of us that makes us play these darn instruments in the first place, that drives us. So what does that mean? What does that look like? Well, we can start off with something as simple as long tones. When we go and play our long tones, the first long tones I really learned growing up were the Remington long tones, right? Here, so these are the ones. Okay, great. And we can just play them, and we can just go through it. And frankly, once we start to internalize it, once we start to memorize it, if we're not careful, we wouldn't even have to pay attention. But instead, even if we treat something like this musically, in other words, we think about how we want the beginning of the phrase to be, and we think about, do we want this phrase to have shape? Do we want to have direction? All of a sudden, it can become a very different exercise. Right away, I'm already thinking different things. I'm thinking about the shape of the note. I'm thinking about stability. I'm thinking about the phrasing. Where is the phrase starting? Where is it going to? Where is it coming back here? Now, in this particular case, we're just ending up with these hairpin shapes here, right? But it wouldn't have to be like that necessarily. And even if we're, frankly, if we're doing, long tones, for example, we don't want to be doing all this complex shaping and phrasing, but more importantly, it's that thought process behind it. It's that directionality and that engagement with it. And what's really cool is that when we are thinking about that musical aspect, a lot of times it makes these exercises easier. The two feed into each other. Same thing with something like lip slurs, for example. We can just play them as an exercise and just go and play them and just kind of toss them off. But even here, if we think more musically, if we're thinking, okay, I want to have this connected. I want to be giving this shape. I want to be giving a direction. Already, again, not only does it make it easier for me, but it's more fulfilling. And frankly, it serves some other roles as well. If we tend to think about these exercises musically, what that means for me anyway, is that I'm creating an internal pulse in a lot of cases. Even if that pulse is shifting and moving through a lot of these exercises, I'm trying to think very, very precise with that rhythm, with that internal pulse. And what that does too, again, is that helps us to play and learn all of these here. Separate side note, a lot of what we do as musicians, as brass players, is about timing, and it's about our body learning how all of these different actions, motions it needs to go through, how they all sync up. If we're always thinking about this internal subdivision, whatever that subdivision might be, and whatever's happening to the time, that helps to train our muscles, our body, our brain, how to sync all of this up here. So, quick aside there. But long story short, whatever it might be, going through scales, lip slurs, long tones, whatever it is, always thinking musically. From the very beginning, as soon as we start playing, trying to make sure we're playing with the most beautiful sound that we can. Now, that's not to say that's always going to be the case. Trust me, there are plenty of days when I pick up the horn and what starts coming out is not my most beautiful sound. And there's a different philosophy behind that. How do we deal with that? Well, we can talk about that in a later video here. But it's just that knowledge of from the very beginning, as soon as we pick up the horn, we're trying to think that way. This is what we're aiming for. We know what we're trying to accomplish, and we're doing it musically. And again, what I've found, it's a lot more engaging for me. It helps me to stay more focused in what I'm doing, and frankly, it makes it more interesting because, again, why do we play our instruments? Why do we go through all the work of the practicing and the warming up and everything there? Well, in a lot of cases, it's because we actually want to play music with it, And so thinking of all of these processes as being musical can help with a lot of that. Now, there are some other things that we can think about with warming up as well. Different concepts that may help as well. I'm going to get to those in later videos. So if you take nothing else away from the video here today, when you pick up your instrument, whatever you're doing, whether it is just doing your daily warm-ups, or let's say you're just working on some technical exercises, you're working on scales or arpeggios or articulation, whatever it might be, think about that concept in the back of your mind. I want to think about this musically and see if that makes a difference at all. So, as always, I hope this video is helpful for you. If you have any thoughts, any questions about what I talked about here today, feel free to leave them in the comments. Share them with our community. I would love to get back to you when I can. I know our community members would love to have discussions with you as well. And so, of course, you can check out, I've got a whole series of these daily practice tips, and you can check all of those out on our YouTube channel or our Facebook page as well. Please, if you have not already, subscribe to our Facebook page. If you not have already subscribed to our YouTube channel, please do so. Think about that anyway, so that you can be notified when we have new videos coming out. And, of course, you can always find us on Facebook and Instagram as well. So thank you very much, as always, for watching. Happy practicing, and please keep making music.